Hello and welcome back to the RetroStation Podcast. I'm your host, Me Retro, and today we're going to talk about a couple of things. We're going to talk about the DC news of the Green Lantern teaser, the Superman image of Lex in his battle armor, Stanley's likeness for AI, which is just absurd. I watched Mandalorian&Grogu. I'll get into more of that later, but Cliff Notes, it was a film. It was a movie. The Boys Season 5 ended, and I think it ended the way it should have. It just was, it got the job done. And then SNL UK ended. That was quite a while ago, but I kind of want to bring it up again because I think the SNL UK stuff was kind of weird, but a good experiment, and I'm glad it's staying. But let's start at the top. We're going to start with the Green Lantern teaser. I think this is much better. The last teaser I thought was good, but it didn't really convince me in terms of, wow, this is a Green Lantern show. This is a show that we're going to see, and obviously it's called Lanterns, so it's not necessarily Green Lanterns, but when your two primary figures of John and Hal, the two main Lanterns people in the mythos that everyone knows, it's quite hard not to expect the green, expect the kind of space cop, the attitudes, and the kind of mythos to be involved at the start, because what makes Green Lantern special, to me at least, is the plethora of characters that are involved. The teaser didn't really have that. It was like, yes, it's very clearly that we're going to focus on John and Hal, but it didn't do anything else. It didn't show anything more, and I was a little disappointed. And obviously a lot of people were like, well, what is actually the mystery involved? Why there was not a lot of questions answered, and normally a teaser or a trailer or something like that gives a lot of more context, but we got barely any context. So this trailer kind of tries to reimagine, tries to re-explain what is going on. I think it did a better job in showing what was actually going to be involved. More of the characters, more of the green. I mean, the suit still looks like a suit. I assume when Hal is actually lanterned up, when he's finally wearing the ring, it will be green. But the teaser that we got recently gave Hal in the suit back in the day, and with now, and it just looks it looks kind of weird. And I think that kind of pushes into the show's architecture and design choices of costuming and production, and it feels very grounded in nature. And like saying previously, this kind of space attitude towards the Green Lanterns is so important. So having it set on Earth feels really like a 180. It feels really out of left field, and I kind of wish we didn't get that for Hal and John at least, because those two are so important in when it comes to being out there in the outer world. Say if you did something like Far Sector and that was still on an alien planet but more grounded, I think Joe would have worked a lot better in that regard, because that the comic Far Sector is that. And obviously we've had Hal and John be on Earth, deal with crime in some capacities, but it's not the same as that Far Sector comic book. And the greatness of it being re-released onto compacts is that more people are going to read it and more people are going to like the character. And obviously we have the absolute Green Lantern, and that's kind of flipping on its head, but in a different type way. Tangent aside, I feel like this show and its mantra of "Are you afraid?" was interesting and enough for me to go, okay, I will watch it. Because previously I was a bit like, I'll wait until all the show is out and then I'll watch it, because sometimes that's better to do that. And I feel like I should have done that with The Boys. I feel like I should have waited for it to all come out. I'm glad I watched it week to week, because then I wasn't as disappointed going in. But Lanterns as a show seems like the type of show to drop all the episodes at once and you are done with it. That's the way it was kind of going with their initial teaser. Now I'm convinced of, okay, if this is weekly, if this is 2 episodes, I will be there every day of the week to watch it, because it does seem worth it. I just hope that like it ramps up in its wackiness, in its lanternsness, kind of the more it goes on. And I feel like with the way that the teaser is showing how he's Parallax, the evil version of him, where like he's got the embodiment of fear essentially inside of him, or he's just kind of like had his day, and that will leave John to be a man of tomorrow, because we know that it's confirmed that Jon Stewart is going to appear. We don't know about Guy. Obviously, Guy is in the show, but we don't know how much he's going to. I don't. Obviously, you can't show everything. You don't want to be a Marvel trailer where you show everything in the first 10 minutes, but for Lanterns, you needed a lot of people. You needed that boulder to be pushed up so far for people to realize how heavy it is and how kind of dense that the topic and the subject matters that you're going to pull on. Because parts of the trailer we see kind of John's childhood and John's time with Marine, and I like that. I still hope he's an architect, because that's kind of why he makes constructs and how he makes constructs sometimes. This is a lot better. The "Are You Afraid" tagline is cool. We did see a little bit of Sinestro. We don't know who she's playing, but the girl from Ozark, her name has gone a complete blank, but that I hope she's not Star Sapphire, but rather like a Guardian, because I think that'd be far more interesting. I think if Hal has a love interest in this show, I think it will be too much for Hal as a character, and he'll feel like he's washed down to two character traits, where it would be, oh, I'm the love interest of her, and I'm the old mentor. We need these characters to feel like they are their own individuals, so it feels more worthwhile when John inevitably takes over from Hal. Either he loses the ability to get this ring, or he dies. It's probably going to be his death, and then we're probably going to get a flashback. We're probably going to be back in time for also Hal. We're probably going to get the origins kind of in flashbacks rather than in standalone films. That makes more sense for Lanterns as a show, especially if this is Hal's kind of coming into the DCU, but also his death. Because I think for John, Hal, and Guy to all be Lanterns, it works fine in the comics because they're doing their own thing, but for these three, they're all on Earth. So like, at least one or two of them need to leave Earth for it to seem interesting. If there is 3 Green Lanterns, I think a lot of people will be like, oh, this is so cool, but aren't we supposed to get more? Aren't we supposed to get like 5 other Lanterns? And then those will be on Earth, and that's why I wish we kind of did a far sector. We got Joe in space doing that grounded mystery, and then also we'd have more representation of space already, because with Supergirl coming out, obviously we're going to have Woman of Tomorrow, which looks good. A little bit afraid of the visual style, but that's about it. And yeah, I just kind of wish we didn't do Hal and John, and the issue there is obviously if you didn't do Hal and John, everyone was going to go, oh, why didn't you do the main two? But personally for me, because we've already got Guy, we're clearly in a cycle of being further along the timeline than most people suspect. So if we got Joe, it would leave a lot more room for Hal and John to be Lanterns already and to do things already in space, rather than being like, okay, we need to set up the second one. Because then what about Alan Scott? Is he going to be before Hal, or is he going to be like way before Hal? Because the way that it seems is to be Hal is before, Guy is second, and Guy is second, John is third. Which, like, technically Guy and John were at the same time, but that's comic books. Yeah, I a lot better. I'm glad that's coming through. I've got to see a little bit more of it, because I'm convinced, but I'm not fully convinced. I feel like that's a lot. But then obviously Jon Stewart is going to be in Superman, and we got the first picture of Lex in his battle armor, in his Lex armor. It's green, it's purple, it's got the hood. It reminds me of the Lego games so much. It reminds me of just like, I think it's a good job. We obviously got more set photos of Superman, David Cornsweet doing stuff, but I think Nicholas Hoult, he looks good in that battle armor. I'm very impressed with how good it looks and how accurate it looks, because with DCU's Superman, obviously it takes some liberties with Kingdom Come as an outfit, so I was like, are they going to do the same with Lex? Are they going to make it kind of skinnier and more sleek, more like an Iron Man armor? But thankfully not. It's going full on thick chunky boy, thick chunky boy Lex in his battle armor. Clearly they're going to team up. With the set photo, it looked like they were in some Void type space shenanigans, so that's exciting. Probably maybe the pocket dimension that they were in before in the first one with the prisoners, maybe in something like that, or it might just be a Brainiac ship. Just gotta wait for more, and I'm really glad that we are doing official images rather than like leaks, because when movies, especially big blockbusters, superheroes, when they're like get leaked, they either look wrong or they look a little off, and then you suspect it to be different than it is. With this, it's an official image, it's approved by DC, it's approved by everyone, and I love that. Then moving on to the Stan Lee's likeness for AI, it got confirmed that even past his unfortunate death, he's being used for more AI and more filters. He's being used alongside other celebrities, but the difference is those celebrities are alive to say yes, and this is just Stan Lee's likeness, and it's just horrible. I don't know why, even after his death, I just don't get it. He has passed away, and that is okay. I understand the complexity when it comes to Stan Lee's power within the nerdy world, because he is the voice of most Marvel based heroes to people, so it's fine. But no, this is not okay, and I think this being approved will teach a lot more scummy companies to accept the idea of likeliness and AI-ness, because if Stan Lee does it, then a lot more can do it. And if it does the same for more pop culture icons, nah, man, that I'm just not okay with. This is a short segment because it's pissed me off, because why would you want to do this? Let the man be. He was, in his later years of life, he was being, from what we've seen, he was being pushed around so much for basically being this Funko Pop of a person. Just like, oh, look at Stan Lee. Let him rest, man. What? I don't want to see this. No one wants this. Except corporate shills. I don't know anyone who wants this Stan Lee likeness. It's not okay. It's horrible. This should never have been a thing. And I really hope that we don't use it. Just don't use it, please. Another little point is the SNL UK series. Series 1 finally wrapped. It was quite a little bit ago now, but I just kind of want to talk about why I think it worked over the SNL US one. Obviously, that one's been going on for 50 years, so that one has clearly been successful. But with SNL UK, a lot of people were a bit iffy about it, a bit, is it actually going to work? Is it going to be worthwhile? But it was really funny, and I'm really glad that the cast members were a mix of, TikTok personalities, more comedic actors and stand-up comics, because I think we need that for SNL UK. I think if they went in the route of US, where it was just a lot of like one-to-one, like that is what you do for the show and that is all that you do. I'm really glad there's some versatility in the casting, and definitely a lot more diversity, especially with the UK one. I think obviously US is a bit different with its demographic, but with this one UK, it's clearly at a younger audience. It feels like it's at a younger audience with its subject matters and its talkings. But I'm really glad. It was quite funny. There was only 8 episodes. There was a lot of good hosts. There was only like 2 bad episodes that I felt like they could have done a little bit more, but the rest was so incredibly well done. and it makes me excited for season 2 in September. And I was trying to think of hosts and like celebrities or musical hosts that could actually be involved, because I think with SNL UK, or at least the US one, a lot of UK centric people and a lot more other celebrities don't get picked because it's all the way in the US, whereas in the UK it's in this middle ground, and I love that. I think the best host was, see, that's a good question myself. Which one is the best host? Maybe Shuti Gatwa. I felt like he did quite a lot with the script. I think but maybe also because it was the season finale, it was good. The show was exciting, and the fact that you can watch it on Now and Sky, I love that. So I'm excited for more, and I'm excited for what they talk about, because especially with UK humor, it's very tongue in cheek, but it's also very brash. Obviously tongue in cheek, brash. It's very in your face and very kind of backhanded, and that obviously goes into the tongue in cheek nature of UK culture, and especially in Weekend Update, it does go in quite hard, and it does go into the point of what they were talking about, where watching the US one, they kind of skirt around issues, they kind of skirt around topics because they're quite scared of what it's going to say to their brand, whereas UK, they are known for being very harsh towards its people's subject matters, that kind of thing. It was really good. I think they do. Paddy, especially in there, I think is really good because he just doesn't break. He's just very, very funny. Both of them are amazing. I think SNL UK as a whole was just a standout of UK TV for a bit, especially in terms of something that we don't get often with TV anymore. We get a lot of reality TV. We get a lot of soap operas, crime operas with the BBC, but with SNL UK, it's a mix-up, and it's a good switch up, because the hosts were funny, the musical guests were quite interesting, and there are a few musical guests and hosts that I really wanted to see. So this is my kind of top 3 of them. For musical guests, Pink Pantheress, that would be an amazing set piece. They're easy songs. Lola Young, also very younger demographic. Her music is great. She's releasing more music recently, so who knows. And then like an all-time classic, you can probably do like Radiohead, because they had Foo Fighters, which is not necessarily a UK-centric band, but if you get Radiohead, a 90s scene, that would be fucking impeccable. Those 3 musical guests would be amazing. And then on the host side, I think like Daniel Kaluuya would be fucking amazing as a host. He does have such a comedic range sometimes, especially in his acting, especially when he was on Skins. He'd be perfect. And then also like to compete with like the sex education style of Hannah Winterbaum and Ncuti Gatwa and Amy Lee Wood. I think Connor Swindles would be so funny to have, because his role in Barbie and his role in sex education especially, they are so funny in terms of his physical performance, the way that he kind of pushes himself around. I think he would be an amazing UK host. And then like you could obviously do more classical actors and more theatre dependent people to be hosts to flex some of that like comedic creativity. That would be amazing. I'd love to see like Robert Pattinson. That would be so funny. I think Robert Pattinson would be an amazing UK guest, especially in terms of UK humor, because a lot of what he does is in a US based mindset. So his, comedic range, his seriousness, it's more towards that demographic. So if he was a proper UK series where he can be funny and be sketch comedy at least, I would love that. And I think for SNL UK, they have a lot of breathing room here. They have a lot of where can they go, especially with their sketches where they talk about like really niche topics, from like the footballers and the old TV shows. I think it's really good. Obviously did like a more like a US sketch with the Mario one, but there are some proper like niche little golden nuggets of UK centric funny antics, and it's so dependent on knowing it because you've grown up here. With US, it's more broad within its strokes because the US is so involved with everywhere else, whereas the UK is kind of not. So with their comedic value, they are the more brash, tongue-in-cheek, we say what we want to say and we do what we want to do. I mean, one bit that kind of annoyed me was the 45 seconds with Foraker, where it's just like, the joke was Epstein didn't kill himself. It was like, okay, that was like, we're really pandering to an audience that find that funny. And I think that type of humor I don't necessarily want to see. I don't want to just see, oh, quote unquote celebrity does bad. Weekend Update does kind of teeter that line a little bit, but I think it does right because it's covering current news stories, whereas that and other segments where they're going on older jokes, it's so hit or miss. It's so like, oh, that was really funny because it's so relevant today, and then another one is just like, I don't care. I don't want this. I'm good. I'm just gonna wait. I'm just gonna go on my phone. But yeah, I think SNL knocked out the park. Excited for more. I'm gonna get to Mandalorian&Grogu last because I know I'm gonna have a fat juicy rant about it, about how stupid it was. So let's talk about something even more stupid. Let's talk about The Boys season 5. The season finale ended, and I was okay about it. A lot of people are comparing it to Game of Thrones, Stranger Things. It's not that. The Game of Thrones ending, it ruins the whole show. Stranger Things, it makes the rest of the show a lot better, especially season 1, 2, and 3. And it's kind of the same of The Boys here, where the rest of the show is still okay to exist. You still find the rest of the show enjoyable because the ending is simply surface level, and that's fine. I think killing Homelander, killing Butcher, I think those deaths were really warranted and justified, but setting up the entire season around V1, literally setting everything up around this one compound with Soldier Boy, with Sister Sage, and everything, just for it to go nowhere and do nothing. It feels so redundant to watch that last season, because you could essentially watch season 1 through 3 to 4 and then go to the last episode of 5, because nothing matters. Nothing changes when it comes to that season. I was so excited to see if Mother's Milk had any powers, or Homelander would actually do Scorched Earth, and it doesn't. And that disappointed me quite a lot the more I thought about it. I was okay with it when it ended. I was like, okay, that's fine, Annie and Huey live. The Deep dies by the fish that he's destroyed. The representation of himself has finally disappeared. He's dead. Sister Sage fucks off. And then like Butcher has his death, which I believe was probably the best part of the season finale, because I think it talked about how it's the mindset that kills you. It's not the actual actions and stuff like that. When it comes to Butcher, it's his mindset of every person must die. It is a little stupid that like he wants to bring down the capitalist society, but then at the same time, it's a show on Amazon. It's a show on everything that they are on as a platform, so let's not go too hard about that. The more I thought about each individual episode, I was like, wow, this is building up to something. Soldier Boy is going to have to fight. I mean, earlier, you can go back 2 episodes, you can see me thinking about it, and then just what happens? He gets put to sleep. Okay, that's fine. The show ended on such a stale note that I'm like, wow, the early seasons were a lot better. The early seasons had a lot more punch and a lot more gravitas to it. This felt so wrapping a bow with just a bit of string rather than a nice bow tie. That's what it felt like. You have this nice president involved. You have all this kind of allegories for capitalism and a society that never treats you right because you are seen as inferior, and then like these season 5 themes of there's always someone being superior to you, there's an authority figure, but then by the end of the season it doesn't even matter. The White House scenario, the entire world of, oh well, he's president now, what is he going to do, is redundant. This could take place in a warehouse and it has the exact same effect as it does it taking place in the White House. That is disappointing to me, at least. Everything else I could take or leave, the killing of these characters, the writing of these characters, like, it is perfectly surfaceable. But having your big ending be a shit fight scene, like, it was cool, it was like, wow, we're actually doing it, he's finally dead, it was satisfying, but also quite hollow. Also the issue of, oh hey, watch Vought Rising, find out why Soldier Boy retcons into loving Clara, and same with Homelander. It feels like, in terms of the ending being so drastically different from the rest of the show, it felt so clear to me that the rest of the show was building up to a different conclusion and Vought Rising prequel series. The season finale was like, oh yeah, we need to actually wrap up this show. We need to actually end it because it makes no sense to continue going, so let's just do that. The O-Father stuff, the way his last episode, he just kind of turns into nothing. The Deep is obviously this is the only one left, but man, it's just so boring. Okay, moving on to Mandalorian and Grogu. Now this, I said previously that I was not going to see this film in cinemas. I was iffy about it. But then friends said, hey, let's go see it. And I was like, you know what? Why not? I want to see if this is as bad as everyone says. Yes, it is as bad as everyone says. It is one of those films that is so mid. It's so mid. It's so mid. I'm going to first talk about the positives of the film. I feel like we need to get those out of the way because it's going to be a lot more negative than positives. The score. Ludwig's score is the best thing about this film, and there is no argue about it. It carries majority of these action set pieces. The characters' dialogue feels so redundant, so when you have this beautiful score behind it, it's passable. It's okay. Especially in terms of when you're in the city, this Mandalorian theme of like techno music to do with the Mando theme, this remix essentially. Amazing. Wow, that was so cool. The bit at the end with the starfighters and everyone else kind of jumping in to help Mando at the end, that was really, really beautiful. Mando's last kind of hope before he gets passed out by poison, that was an amazing sequence, and the score carries those moments of, is Mandalorian actually gonna die, or is he just, he's doing his last valiant effort to save his son? I thought those moments were really, really sweet. The action set pieces were quite creative in terms of when it comes to the huts. And the snake sequence down under the water was quite cool. I like the Mandalorian and Grogu, they work as a duo. Obviously, we've had 3 seasons of a show of it, but Grogu on his own for a moment there, working alongside Babu Fricks, was quite cool. I like a glub shito, so fuck yes. This film is, it's a mid film. It gives a middle thumbs up for me when it comes to the overall rating of what I find interesting. It's okay. It's one of those things where it feels like 3 Mandalorian episodes that got jam-packed into one film, and that's a shame because I think this would have worked a lot better as like a 3-part series, a 3-part conclusion to the Mandalorian story, rather than a kind of soft relaunch of the New Rebellion and the High Republic. High Republic? Can't remember if that's the name. That's how boring it is. But the overall arcing themes of Grogu and Mando knowing that they need each other is quite cute. Kind of being your own individual is really what this film is trying to suggest, especially with The Hutt by Jeremy Allen White. It's like he's not like Jabba the Hutt, he's his own person. And the bits of dialogue that we get were quite interesting because it was a new character that didn't feel redundant like a Star Wars one-liner. It felt quite intuitive to what the film was trying to suggest with its themes. It was like, okay, you have to be your own person. And especially in terms of those 3 episodes of Mandalorian into one film, that second episode where Mando is passed out and Grogu is on his own survival, that felt really cute, and that was a good positive. It felt like Grogu was pushing more up as a character, because the unfortunate is they've shot themselves in the foot of making him a part of the Yoda breed, is that he will age so fucking slowly that he won't do anything for the next 10 years in the Star Wars kind of movies and shows. He will act as a baby. He will act as this baby Groot for Star Wars, and that's so annoying. I wish that for this film he'd grown up a little bit more, but because he is Yoda, he can't. And that sucks, because this film is clearly trying to suggest that they can be separate as characters, because they work a lot better when they are separate characters. Like I said, the Mandalorian effort of him in the water killing the snake, him fighting against the Jabba the Hutt's minions in the forest, those moments of Mando felt so much more like season 1 of the show, where he felt like he was the main character. In this film, he tries to be, but baby Grogu needs to be the market. So every time something happens, there's a shot as it cuts to baby Grogu going a noise, and it's so annoying because it leaves so much breathing room for dialogue to be awkward. There is genuinely moments in this film where you're supposed to laugh out loud, and you wait for there's like a sitcom comedic bit where you're like, ha ha ha. Anyway, continue with your dialogue, good sir. We shouldn't do that for a Star Wars film. At least to me, and this demographic of, you want to bring people who've watched the show, grown up with this, to watch it in the cinemas, but then still speak down to them. Why are we doing this? Why are we letting the Mandalorian dad be this comedic fucking one-liner guy? It's exhausting. It's tiring. And I'm really saddened by the decline in the acting and the writing for the character of Mandalorian. Jabba the Hutt's fucking cousin is far more interesting than the dad. And that is a shame, because Mandalorian is such a cool character. Yes, we've had 3 seasons of it, so we know what he's like now. But the fact that when in that second episode out of the 3 episodes, Grogu does so much effort to save him, and it's so nice. It's a heartwarming moment that they truly care for one another, because it's quite hard when a baby can't speak or can't do anything to know if he actually even listens or cares. So it's quite nice for when Grogu saves essentially his dad. He saves Mando, and in response he's just, hey kid, you want to leave? There's no heartwarming moment. But then literally 40 minutes later, when another character, Zeb from the Clone Wars, shows up, he does a one-liner. It's like, what took you so long? Are we serious? Why are you both heartless towards someone who's just saved you, but then also the wisecracking dad? Can we just, the wisecracking side character, can we have a bit of consistency, a bit of growth? I understand that Mandalorian characters are supposed to be, they're not supposed to really have emotions under the helmet, but it's so obvious that he needs them. It's so obvious that he should have them. He has spent essentially 4 to 5 years with this guy now. What are we doing here? Why are we doing this? We as an audience have watched these two grow for 3 seasons and a film, and he still acts like he just is not caring. The entire show's crutch was that he cares about this little guy because it reminds him of himself when he was younger, and more in terms of he's going into a system he may not like. He gets a choice when he's with Mando. Why are you so heartless towards your own son? Those moments of them two talking to each other, they don't do it. They don't interact, and it's so sad because the film is called The Mandalorian&Grogu. At the end of the day, this is pieces of writing that should have been better in a action film that is clearly more focused on selling baby Grogu and Mando to be this duo package of keyrings and toys that you buy. And that is perfectly fine if the film was better. If you work past the annoyances of it being a childlike film, it's fine if you have it like that, because there's more substance, there's more meat to chew on the bone. Here, this bone is so bloody hollow, I can't tell what I'm eating. It's exhausting, especially in terms of all the references to older stuff. Jabba the Hutt's cousin, from the original trilogy. Zeb is from the Clone Wars and beyond that, even Rebels and everything like that. Oh, you like the villain? Oh, he's also from the Clone Wars. I don't mind it if it wasn't so in my face all the time. Why are they? I understand why they are so scared to do new stuff, but if we can't have anything new, then it feels so redundant. It feels so not worthwhile. The main villains are Hutts. Wow, that's really cool. It's someone that we know. They're cousins with Jabba the Hutt. Like from back in the day. The villain is from the Clone Wars from back in the day. That character that's with the Mandalorian. You should have watched the Clone Wars on Disney Plus. You should have watched Mando season 3 where he shows up at the end there to understand it. It's so formulaic. And that's such a shame, because Mandalorian and Grogu are the best parts of Star Wars that isn't Andor. That is modern Star Wars. It's so sad, but that we don't do anything new or refreshing. It's just, what if we do the show's format in a film? Going back to it being 3 episodes in one film, it should have either stayed as a season 4 premiere, kind of parts of the show. It should have been an overarching narrative, but rather it's a kind of mediocre film that is really redundant in its characters, because half the stuff that happens could have been avoided if they literally just asked one more question, or they hit one more punch to the dude. There's an expectation of the bomb under the table. The suspense is in if you know more than the characters, and that is stressful. In this film, you know more than the characters for no apparent reason. There is no reason why you should know more when you watch it. One of the plot points is that Mando needs to find this guy, but then he goes to this dude who talks to the Hutt that he needs to find, which then the Hutt knows who the guy is. The fucking guy is the original person he talks to. And we know this because he's sketchy. We know this because of the motifs of what he looks like. It's not good visual storytelling. It's just stupidness and laziness. It's so lazy because then we talk to the Hutt, who then goes, well, actually, it was the guy that beforehand. But you kind of already knew that, because why wouldn't he be? What are we doing here? It's not telling us anything new. It's not doing anything refreshing. It's exhausting. It's boring. And I just really wish that we got something a bit more worthwhile. If this was episodes of TV show, I'd be like, no, these are really good episodes because they're 3 separate episodes that end and start. They have a conclusion. But because they're part of a film, it doesn't, the 3 acts act so unlikable next to one another, because there's Act 2, the bit with Mando and Grogu working together on this nice little island, is really, really cute. But then we have the Hutts and the Republic working alongside this, but that's not explained. Him working for the Republic is not explained. We just assume that he is from the season 3 ending to the new one. We get no explanation. We get no reason why he's doing this. The whole reason of the original show is that he's giving Grogu and himself a choice to, obviously talk about higher responsibilities. He's a bounty hunter, but he's still humane in some regards, and that's cute. But then in this new one, he's just like, oh yeah, I work for them, but actually I don't. He makes so many points of, actually I don't work for them. I'm actually just a lone bounty hunter. Mate, if you accept that you're part of the good guys, just accept it. We don't need you skirting around the issue and skirting around the whole, well, actually, I'm an independent guy, because from the past 3 seasons of my show, I've not actually been part of the hierarchy of anything. That works better. You can't have it both ways when it comes to the Mandalorian and Grogu film. You've shot yourself in the foot so much by having these moments of Grogu can't growing up, Mando feeling so heartless, yet the funny one-line main dude is juggling too much. It's exhausting, and I'm really saddened by the fact that this is the Star Wars film they choose to put back in cinemas. I wouldn't have complained if this was a Disney Plus show. I would have, if this was a Disney Plus film, I would have been like, okay, great. You do that. Well done. Those were some good episodes. But because this is meant to be on the bigger screen, no. There's a different standard. There is a different standard on it, because Grogu and Mando are interesting characters, but they are reduced to nothing but marketable plushies. My score for Mandalorian and Grogu, by the way, is a 3 out of 5. It was, 2.5 is mediocre, 3 is, there was some good moments. And that's what there was. There was some good moments. Yeah. As you can tell, I'm exhausted by the subject, because Star Wars is such an interesting IP, but because of the oversaturation of everything going on, we get good shows like Andor and Mandalorian Season 1, and then we get crap like this, and focus more on why you want to tell a story than needing to tell a story. Because we can tell that this entire film was just made to put people in the minds of Green Baby. I like the Green Baby. You want to see the Green Baby on the big screen rather than on your TV? Yeah. But anyway, thank you so much for watching and listening. I hope you have a fantastic day, night, whatever's going on, and I will see you next time.